out to be completely unreliable assholes.
Hello, Tim. Hello, Ryan.
And hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 43 of Dismembering Horror, the podcast show where, well, myself, Ryan McDuffie.
And myself, Tim Aslin.
That's right, folks. Well, we're here to dismember horror. We're going to talk about what worked for us.
What didn't work for us.
And anything we found interesting or
noteworthy
about, well, a horror film that we've been wanting to see that we hope is going to have some sort of redeeming value that you wanted us to watch. And horror we find is always worth giving that extra, hey, what was going on there? What is this? Something about exploring what we aren't to explore, you know? The dark side of the coin. So to speak, though I don't think that's ever been said.
Not a term, but yeah, I like it.
Yeah, that's what we're doing here. We hope to dig some fun stuff up and have a fun time talking about it. We hope you've watched the film we're talking about or have seen it, so then you can join us in cataloging it in your brain however you want to catalog it. But just in case you haven't, then hey, you're welcome nonetheless. Thanks for being here.
In this very small room.
You're in here with us. You're with us now for episode 43. We made it.
Wow.
And I'm excited to talk about today's film, Tim.
Oh my God.
It's like, it's one of those early 90s, one of those films that could only be made when it was made. And I kind of got a soft spot for them. You'll learn.
Oh, yes, you will.
Uh-huh. So should we play the trailer for today's film? Well, I guess I meant to ask you real quick. This is now, I've been busy watching Godzilla films. That's kind of all I've been watching.
Yes.
And I wanted to be able to recommend some of them. I mean, now that I've seen them all, like, how do I recommend them? How do I talk about them?
Well, I think first you should define what you mean by seen them all.
Yeah. But I'm asking you, should I get into it at all? And if I should, what extent? Because I may need to think about it more. But like, I could just recommend Dead one for my RecommenDEADtions. But the thing is, they're like different. Like I recommend different ones for different reasons.
No, I think you should right now give us a broad overview of what you've done and what you've watched.
I've watched the 29 original Toho films. So everything before the new Toho revival with Shin Godzilla. I watched from the original 50s Godzilla up to the one that was before Shin Godzilla from the mid-2000s.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Because I've always loved those films, and I never really watched. I wanted to make sure I'd seen them all, though.
I honestly didn't know there were that many of them.
There's a lot.
That's a fucking ton.
And it's fun when you get into it because there's this whole world of like, there's basically three periods. The Showa era, which goes from the 50s with the first one to the mid-70s with the second Mechagodzilla one. Then you have the Heisei, I think you say pronounced era, which is the mid-80s. Then there's 5 years, and then it's mostly early 90s, goes till 95, I believe. Then there's the Millennium series, like where the first one, Godzilla 2000, came out in 99. Then there's a handful that ended, I think, 2004 or whatever.
These are all live action?
Yes.
Fucking hell.
They're all live action, and it's incredible. And so there are all these periods that sort of, you talk about. That's how you break them up. And it's been fun getting into that whole world and having opinions on all of them now and having my favorites within them. Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, maybe that's a foray. Maybe I'll have just set it up that way. Yeah. I don't want to take too much time. How about that's the setup? There's 3 different Godzilla eras. Let's check up not in the next episode.
Yeah,
but
like maybe in every other few or whatever.
In 2 episodes from now, let me try to remember. I'll try to give me that time, and I'll try to think of my favorites within those eras. How about that?
Oh yeah, one for each era.
Yeah,
cool.
But hey, it was fun. I thought maybe as a horror person to another, you and you all listening would appreciate that.
That's a time commitment.
I'm a source for that. It was. The 70s ones, the 60s, 70s ones got to be a bit of a slog, but there's the most of them in there. And there's like no real continuity too.
Oh, shit.
It's kind of repeated formula. But hey, man, I had to see him.
What are you gonna do?
Because there's the new one. I wanted to see them lead up to the new one.
Which you did, or have you seen it yet?
I saw it.
Nice.
Yeah, I went and saw IMAX.
Ooh.
It was fun.
Did you like it?
I mean, I'm not going to defend it. That was a good movie by any means, but I loved it.
Cool. Great.
I don't think I was going to anything but love it as long as it had kaiju fighting each other.
Awesome.
Well, for a very different film, we watched Dolly Dearest.
Oh, Dolly Dearest.
Yeah, that was the early 90s film alluded to earlier. Now, are you ready to get into it? Should we watch the trailer?
Yeah.
All right, man.
Oh,
1991, man. Dolly Dearest.
This is the doll your daddy's gonna make in Mexico. And this is the factory where we're gonna make her and sew her little dresses. Isn't she beautiful?
May I have one, Daddy?
From the moment they met,
I'm gonna love her so much.
it was a fairy tale come true.
Good night, Dolly. Sweet dreams, Dolly.
But this is where the fairy tale ends and the nightmare begins.
Dolly? Dolly? It's time to play.
Jessica.
It's time to play. It's time to play.
It's time to play.
That couldn't be more fucking low-hanging fruit. The lowest of hanging fruit.
Well, to go with plenty of other quotes that are equal
my
to that
God,
of
yeah.
the dolls, all of which I loved.
Well,
Tim-
what'd you think? This is your favorite movie of all time?
It is.
I knew
Of
it.
all time.
I knew it. You would pay $100 for a fucking special edition Blu-ray, wouldn't you?
You know, I'm gonna give it a rent it, though I totally would buy it
Oh my God.
at everything, Tim.
Did it?
And I mean, if you include terrible acting within that everything,
Okay. Fair.
and straight to video quality filmmaking, if you include that in everything.
Mm-hmm.
But if you also include what I think is the only killer evil doll movie to fully like do what you've always wanted with that premise, I mean, this is it.
Oh my God.
We'll get into it.
Yeah.
But like,
Wow.
very different. Like, go down the other killer doll movies. They're different. They aren't quite doing it.
Yeah, I guess that's one way of putting it.
Tim, every time this doll spoke, Dolly, mind you, was the doll's name. I was just in heaven. It was like so good.
It really is your like fucking sweet spot.
Yeah, like just can't more than tickled with this film. Like, oh my God,
Amazing.
it's just perfect. Like I said, you couldn't make it nowadays either, too. Like it.
Well, this is why I think the new Chucky. Wait, what is that called? Child's Play.
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be shit.
with Aubrey Plaza, the new one.
Yeah.
Because they've been making consistent
I know.
new ones. I need
haven't
to
seen
catch up.
any of the fucking. I think I've seen 1 and 2 and maybe 3.
I'm
and
waiting
that's
to
it.
marathon them. I actually haven't seen them past Bride of Chucky, the first
I didn't
4.
even see that.
I saw it in theaters.
Wow. Well, I'm glad you liked it.
Oh man, I loved it.
I was thoroughly amused by it.
Me too.
But that is not to say that I think you should rent it.
Yeah.
But it is a laugh. I mean, it's a pretty fucking solid laugh. From all of the sort of angles you're saying, like even the bad shit is funny
Yeah.
and fun. So, you know, if you see it, it is like we watched on Prime, I think, right?
Yeah.
So if you have Prime, Amazon Prime, it's just fucking watch it. It's streamable. It's hilarious.
Yeah. You could do worse.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely could do worse.
Right. Don't watch Annabelle. Watch this.
Oh my God. Yeah.
You
Definitely.
know what I mean?
Please. Please.
Well, can we get into it more? Should we get into what worked? Well, I should set up real quick.
No, we have to summarize this shit.
Oh, right. Sorry. But just to
Summarize.
come off the previous episode, though, like, I guess just put it in summary, too. In the previous episode, when we watched the trailer, we looked at the poster once I pulled the name from the hat. I'm like, oh my God, it looks great, terrible, hyphenated.
Mm-hmm.
It was exactly that. And then you said we can argue the merits of this versus Chucky, and I think we can do that this episode.
I definitely think we can do that.
Okay, so yes, summary.
Okay, ready?
Yeah, are you saying ready me, or are you?
No, I'm going to do it. Do you have one?
Yeah,
Are you ready to go? I'm going to do it.
Okay.
Here we go. Mexico.
Yep.
91.
Yep.
Archaeological dig. It's a fucking satanic tomb, and the door gets blown down on the archaeologist.
Well, we got the Wade family. You're just saying what it's about.
No, I'm about to. So that's our setup. So then the story is the story of the Wade family that comes in from out of town because Mr. Wade, Daddy Wade, Sammy Bottoms, has bought a doll factory sight unseen in Mexico. What are you doing?
The Dolly Dearest doll factory.
And lo and behold, it's a shithole. And it's trashed and it's not what he thought he was getting. So they're kind of fucked, and they bought a really nice house. So, we'll see what happens with that. But in the back, they discover some fairly nice dolls, and he realizes, oh, maybe this won't be so bad. And he gives one of them to his daughter. Oh, and I forgot to mention that when the archaeologist gets smushed by the Satan door, a cartoon mist
Satan demon
thing comes out and enters into the dolls.
Yep.
Okay, so then he gives that one of the dolls. They all look the same. They're all the Dolly Dearest doll, the most beautiful doll of all time. And she wants one, so she gets one, and then it essentially sort of tangentially possesses her, and the family has to deal with their shitty daughter being possessed by the spirit that's inside the doll. So it's a kind of a double,
straight up Satan, right? Or just this
demon. So there is an actual storyline that is very vaguely touched on, but Rip Torn explains that the Sanzia Satan worshippers of Mexico, that were a sect offshoot of, I think, Mayan. That's right. It was offshoot of Mayans that are specifically worshiping Satan, created a hybrid Satan child with a child's body and a goat's head. They entombed it in that sacred tomb to keep it from getting loose, I guess. And when the archaeologist broke the seal of the tomb, that entity, so it's the demon child Sanzia Satan entity. It's not actually Satan.
Got it.
It's like Satan's child, I guess.
Yeah.
That's the entity. So there you go.
Point being, it's
antics ensue.
Yes, antics
as you can
ensue.
imagine, an animated doll.
Gets
not
pretty animated
like
by the end.
Yeah,
not the quite that if they had the budget that Child's Play or its sequels had.
True,
but
I don't know. I think it's pretty close to on par to the first Chucky, the animatronic.
No,
face.
that had a lot.
You think it had more?
This was way low budget. Child's Play was pretty low budget. But this was more like Child's Play. They were building like full maquette like things and had multiple puppeteers.
Oh no, I agree with that. I just mean in terms of the articulation of the face.
Oh, how much it's moving around and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think it was close.
Yeah, that's true.
That's kind of it, right? So then it's the battle of the Wades and the Satan Sanzia child spirit thing, and getting it out of their daughter,
the
and
mom
out of the
getting
doll. And
I mean, it's sort of more just them becoming privy to it, and then a final fight.
Right.
It kills it. It kills the to put bluntly, the doll kills Mexicans during the movie. Leaves the white.
So true.
This is a movie about the doll somehow not killing the white people who are the victims, because they have to live to save the day at the end.
So true.
It's just killing off the dispensable Mexican workers. That's what the film's about.
That's the summary.
Should we get into what worked now?
Yeah, let's.
What worked for you? What worked for you?
It worked like a charm, Smith.
What worked? What worked for you?
Did you notice that this entire movie is just one big push in?
Push in? You mean like the shots?
The camera work is like every fucking scene is just the camera pushing in on somebody.
Well, if you want to jump straight into that business, Tim, I mean, that was one, I can think of one key one, which was, do you remember? It was like cross-cutting with, I think, the maid woman, like Camilla, like cross-cutting, I think, with her death scene. No, it was with her finding her body, where like they're finding her body, and meanwhile Denise Crosby from Star Trek The Generation and the mom from Pet Sematary, she plays Marilyn Wade. So it's like out of nowhere, there's this thunder and lightning storm that blows open, breaking the double windowed like back entrance to the life-size, dollhouse that the little girl can enter.
Right.
The little girl,
Jessica.
Jessica.
And so Jessica's standing there with this thunder and lightning going, and that's when it does that push in that I'm getting to.
It is hilarious. Like, up until that point, I mean, the whole movie is like they're trying to emphasize creepiness, I guess, by pushing in. But it really does, like, come to a head with that.
That was all out, remember it?
Yeah.
It's like pushing in on everyone.
And she's just standing there with that fucking look in her eyes.
You have that totally just like, just blue gels, lightning going on. Just.
Oh, man. Dude. I mean, this movie sucks, but it is
it's amazing,
pretty fucking hilarious, and like, I mean, just the idea. I don't even know that somebody handed somebody this script, and that person said, "Let's do it." I love that idea.
I have to wonder though. It seems so. I hate the word. But random, but like the location, like a Mexico factory with this house and a cave. I really feel like someone was like, well, I got this, like, let's get some cheap house out in Mexico. Like there's this old factory setting.
I don't know.
Find some whatever nearby caves.
Everything about that looked like it was filmed here.
Really?
To me, yeah.
I don't know. It looked like Mexico to me. That house.
It looked like Santa fucking Clarita or some shit. I don't know. Like just up the hill.
I don't know. The house felt very like actual Mexico to me.
Maybe.
But I wondered if it was just sort of what can we do on the cheap? Let's write a movie around that.
I was feeling backlot vibes the whole time. There was also a couple. Well, I'll get into it later. But, for what it is. It's still pretty fun. It's a little bit of a slog, but it's pretty fun. Like the cartoon opening red cartoon fucking mist thing. It's like, it's not even a mist. It's really funny because it's like moving with like, it's like pulsing. Mm-hmm. It's like curling up and pulsing as it like Evil Dead style travels through the fucking, from the tomb to the dollhouse. That was great. Or not the dollhouse, but the doll factory.
But it's effects added.
Yeah, and like it really amuses me, and it's a little outdated for 91. Yeah, which makes it kind of strangely
I think not just very dated, but just on the cheaper spectrum. Like obviously,
Definitely.
Poltergeist and Ghostbusters were going to have the better version of that effect,
right? But they were, 10 and 5 years respectively.
But it's like
earlier.
the effect's the effect. It's either cheap or you're doing it or you aren't. You're doing it cheaply,
But I really liked it. So right off the bat, I was kind of like, ooh, I'm into this.
Yeah.
And then we get just the fucking worst acting of all time on the plane. But whatever. It's like, what this movie is right off the bat.
God, you hated that little boy, huh? From the get-go.
The brother?
Yeah.
I want to fucking, it's very rare that I want to I have a visceral, I want to fucking pull your head off of your body.
What?
But I literally, You know, like,
why did you hate him?
I don't know. I just fucking, because he sucks. He's such a little fuck, and like he's just so quintessential. This fucking character who exists in real life, that is like, you know, a fucking smarmy little shit who fucking like, you know, his parents are like, hey, listen, don't go over there because it's super fucking dangerous and like you could die. And he's like, no problem. I fucking got this. I'm acting like I'm 25, but I'm 14. But who gives a shit? I'm going to go in there anyway. Fuck you, mom and dad, because I could do whatever I get. What? I'm going to push my shitty glasses up on my face because I know stuff about Mayans. Fuck you. And I'm just like, you're the worst. You're the worst fucking archetype
I just
ever.
remember it's
and
like
you're the worst child actor type.
It was just like the introduction scene where the family's on the plane on the way there, and you just broke the silence, Tim. You're like, I hate him. You're just like,
it's, you know, it's right. It was right there right away.
okay.
I hated his face.
Let's zoom out a bit.
Okay.
This.
Let's pull out.
Let's pull out. If we just pushed in there. We had to push in a bit. Now let's pull back out, which this film does not do, but we got to do it. So it's funny because people say like, oh, I like, you know, killer doll movies, da da da. There really aren't a lot. Like, especially, I maybe be more specific, evil ventriloquist kind of doll movies.
Sure.
Or doll movies, like Little Humans, because you have the Puppet Masters are more kind of little characters. Right. You had Dead Silence was one.
Yeah. That's a ventriloquist, right?
Yeah. You had The Boy, which was like a life-size
more
puppet.
Recent one,
I didn't see.
I saw it.
The Annabelle movies we mentioned.
Well, and then there's like the what do you call that? The sort of bullshit versions of Annabelle that there's like a whole series called like Mary Bell.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that is just a total ripoff of Annabelle. I don't think it's Mary Bell, but it's something like that.
But then, of course, and The Magic, you know, is the ventriloquist done with Anthony Hopkins.
I don't know that one.
So that's a good one. That's a good one. But that's the more psychological horror angle. Like the whole time we're thinking, is he crazy or is he not? It's not sort of an all-out, there's an evil dummy going around.
Right.
And then famously for me, too, more in the book form, though, TV show, too, you could say Goosebumps.
Yeah,
Night of the Living Dummy, Slappy the Dummy.
Okay. Yeah.
So that was just, but as far as just sort of saying, like when people sort of think it's out there in the world, how are they picking up on evil dummy things? And then, of course, famously Chucky.
Right. Which
Child's Play.
Yeah. I mean, to me, really, that's, I think for the average person, that's the only real point of reference anybody's going to have.
To distinguish, though, I think what those are all doing, that this one was a breath of fresh air for me, Tim. And getting at a certain kind of horror, you know. Child's Play Chucky, it's like a murderer. It's a criminal who's possessing Chucky.
That's right.
The doll.
Yeah, it's a serial
Charles
killer.
Lee Ray.
Right.
So already, even though it's like creepy seeing the little doll going around, it's not like he's a person, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so it's never maybe totally tapped into that potential fear that the kind of general overarching premise of evil doll could have for me. And then Magic, I said, you know, is more psychological. Goosebumps went into the realm of like Slappy was just a full-on talking personality, wisecracking, you know, mischief maker kind of thing.
Okay.
And then I haven't actually seen the Annabelle movies, but I think that's like another kind of it's a possessed doll or something.
I'm pretty
like
sure
that.
I watched the first one, but I don't remember any of it.
Anyway, those, even despite even how the dolls moving around, they're very specific, the kind of sensibility of those films. So it's, for me, not going to totally tap into the sort of eerie potential of, again, this premise. But this one, Tim, as terrible as it is, this like did everything I wanted that I've always wanted when you say, oh yeah, the evil doll movies. Like, it's never have I seen where it felt like for the first time the doll was an extension of an essence of doll. Like, yeah, we set up it's some, you know, spin-off Satan thing going inside of it. But by but by giving life to this doll, it was like as if it if it entered a dinosaur toy, it would act like a dinosaur. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like this acted like how that doll looks and feels. It acted like an evil version of that doll.
Right. Yeah,
It was that doll coming to life.
Yes.
Is what it felt like. So it really captured that horror. You know, it wasn't just Charles Lee Ray. You know, it wasn't like a guy in the body. It was like Dolly as Dolly is here, is alive.
Right. And even insofar as some of the things that it's saying are almost like the things that it would say if it had one of the drawstring, like, you know, talking doll things.
It talked in that level. Oh my God. And just to jump to maybe my favorite thing about this movie, which you probably already heard, is its voice. It was so creepy.
It's so fucked up. It's like, it's just...
Jessica. Like, it haunt my nightmares now, Tim. And what it says, too, after it kills the housekeeper, it goes, Jessie, now we can play. You know? And then it also says, time to play. Let's go play. And then after it, like, I remember it running up or like climbing up a rope or something, maybe after just killing someone, and it going like, now this'll be real fun. My favorite was when it was the night watchman.
Yeah.
Like, and she just pops up, Dolly pops up.
Because there's multiple ones at this point.
And Dolly just goes, surprise.
And pushes a bunch of empty boxes onto him.
Surprise.
Surprise!
Like, incredible, right? Incredible. And also how it looked, too. Like, by the end, it became even more kind of demonic looking.
I think that's one of the coolest things in this, is that they decided to progressively make it, like, look like the demon.
And I will just say, if you've seen The Brood, it kind of looks like that.
Okay.
All right. But yeah, that kind of creepy. Little doll taking on evil qualities.
Yeah. It's so funny to, like, that the way, just watching the fucking little doll hands.
Yeah.
Every time it's doing something, like, they actually made a point to, like, show the hands articulating and doing things, and it's
super basic, like the most like
but
very done on the cheap,
because it is a doll, right?
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, yeah, no shit, that's what it would look like. But it's so fucking amusing.
Yeah. I know.
This little doll hand reaching out and, like,
amusing enough to rent or buy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then, so just to look at sort of the overarching horror of this too, again, let's compare it to another film of its same class, Hereditary.
Okay.
No, I know that was a kind of joke, but not really a joke. But the dollhouse thing in Hereditary, this is just to sort of explain it, where, like, you have Toni Collette's making little dollhouses, essentially. It sort of puts you in this place of, like, what is that from a psychological standpoint of, like, to sort of observe life and all that is, and take that perspective of by being able to observe a miniature version of it, have control, being the creator of a miniature version of it. And some things got to me with that. So, like, this is the first kind of killer doll film, again, that I've seen that really, it feels like, you know, I'm always talking about the promise of the premise or pursuing potent possibilities.
Yeah.
To have a little girl obsessed with the doll playing in her own sort of backyard, like, fort dollhouse, that was really on point for me.
Yeah, because they could have had a toy dollhouse that she, like, plays with.
Yeah,
you know, in her room, but putting her inside essentially a life-sized dollhouse, which is a weird way to put it, but putting the child in the house turns the child more into a doll as well, which is sort of a cool, weird idea.
But it's also turning her into an adult and turning the adults into children, because it's sort of saying.
You just blew my mind open. What?
You know what I mean?
No.
Because, like, it's how she says, how, you know, when someone's, like, playing house, a little kid.
Yeah.
It's like they're playing adult in a way.
Sure.
Right? So you have her like when she gets really mad and at the one of the parents for like barging in there or whatever, or not knocking, and she's like, they get in the argument and she's like, this is our house. Dolly doesn't like it. Da 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 da. That's it's similar. Like it just puts the sort of mirror up for me of being like, these parents think like, oh, silly little kid, you know, this is our house here that we own because it is our property. It's always playing house. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? We don't, in a certain perspective, we don't own things.
Right.
You know what I mean? It just sort of does that horror movie thing of like, I get into a lot of where does one thing start? Where does something end?
Yeah.
As a sort of like our perspective that's shifted, that it's very uncomfortable for us to sort of challenge this idea of like, oh, her basically saying like that, the little girl's position of this is her little dinner date she has with the doll. Is that really any less important than, you know, the parents in their situation having dinner, and as they said, an actual dinner? You know, it's like just as real and important to her in that moment that is her space, that is their tea time, whatever it may be. It's sort of this idea of like where we like to say children are cute little kids, but remember being a kid, it's not like, no, don't disrespect me. This is my life. This is my reality.
Well, and I think that some of the fundamental things that are working to make it unsettling and creepy and potentially scary are broader ideas. It's like a kid, generally from an adult's point of view, you know, doesn't have agency. You know, they're sort of just innocent and they're receiving orders from the authority. And they should follow those rules because that's your job as a parent, to sort of guide them and keep them safe and protect them. And this is working on a level of like, what happens when the kid starts to sort of dismiss your control and take its own agency, or even worse, the idea of an outsider's voice is manipulating that kid to have agency that is in direct conflict with you, the authority. And so there's this weird kind of like, well, shit, you know, like I'm supposed to be protecting this kid, but now this kid thinks it knows best. Yep. And you don't know where that idea is coming from. I mean, in a weird, even broader way, it's like, I'm not a parent, so what the fuck do I know? But I think when your kid starts to get older and actually starts to have its own mind and make decisions and like go off on its own, that's hard to let go of the control of it. Now, in this, obviously, Jessica's like, what, 5?
I don't know.
8.
Something like
Somewhere in there. I don't know. But like, there are moments when she's flipping out and like,
yeah.
And it's actually pretty fucking good performance. Like in the car when she starts screaming, it's unsettling. Like it's like, and again, from a parent's point of view, or just a human's point of view, a little kid flipping and screaming like they are dying is terrifying. Like, I think it just hits most of us in this sort of like, make it stop or help them. Like, or
kind of like that scene in The Omen when they're going to the church and all the monkeys are flipping out.
Yeah.
The kid does not want to be going to that church.
Yeah. So I think that stuff, that all, you know, even just on a sort of baseline fundamental level, it is working. It's cool ideas.
Yeah.
Regardless of the sort of bullshitty, like cheap execution of a lot of things, there's still good stuff within that.
Aside from, I think, the ending, which we'll get into, I actually think it was pretty good. Maybe not script down to the letter, but just generally the plotting and the story and like what I talked about, like all these different elements at play. Like, okay, yeah, this would happen at a doll factory. Yeah, they have the dollhouse in back. It's a little girl. It's named Doll. I don't know. It's just like fully doing this premise in a way that's not seen before.
Well, and again, it's sort of in certain hands, this could be quite a fucked up movie.
Yeah.
You know, it just so happened that this version of it is in the hands of, I don't know. I didn't even look at who the director was.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. So it's, you know, it just was sort of in its own, it's in a specific lane where if you know, the guy from Hereditary did this, it would be fucking horrifying.
Yeah.
Like, I'd like to see that.
I know. See, that's what's fun to still, though, if you can just tap into these films in the way that, like, how you were when you were a kid watching these films and just took everything at face value, which I kind of, I guess, was able to do, just like enjoy it for what it is. You can see that's partly why I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah.
Another the deaths too.
Yeah, I mean, the deaths are hilarious. So the first one is the archaeologist, the door slamming down on, and like, I don't know about you, but the second he was standing in front of the door and like chiseling away at it or whatever, I was like, he's just gonna get squished, right? And then of course he does. But they kind of take it just far enough. It's not just like a big door fell on him. They actually have the edge of the top of the door squish his face. Like it explodes his head.
Right.
And it's not graphically there, but it's there.
Yeah. It happens.
Yeah.
Next
I was like, oh, yeah.
The housekeeper, right?
Yeah. Which is a whole fight.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, she's getting stabbed
right.
and fucking like pulling a knife out of her shoulder.
She was the one who gets like the hand messed up in the sewing machine, right?
No, that's Louise.
She got stabbed
she got
in like
the shoulder, and I think the leg too.
That was, oh my God, Tim.
Yeah.
Like,
and then she pulls it out. She pulls it fucking out.
Rent this movie just for the shot when the doll stabs her, like in the neck, is just just so swift. This little doll stabbing her in the neck. It was incredible. Oh my God.
But then it is pretty fucked up. She gets pushed into this, I guess it's sort of the well.
It's like, an underground, the basement well.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a name for that. And then Dolly.
It's like the one in
kinda Satan's Slaves.
Yeah.
It's sort of like the sump pump fucking well area, whatever. But she falls in there, and then Dolly throws some fucking electrical lights in there. And she, good on this older actress.
It's gruesome.
Because she really did the I'm being electrocuted in water.
She sold
really
it.
Flailed.
Oh man, she sold it.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Dolly's watching on in Glee.
Yep.
It was so funny how all this started with just like we had at the beginning. If I'm including, I think if they're going over the deaths, just want to include in the and talking about already the Dolly's doing this and stabbing this. It's funny just to check up on what's the progression of how much it's moving or how much is being shown.
My favorite part of the whole movie.
Was that just the beginning?
She gets put in the rocking chair.
Yeah. So, Tim was like, so it was great. So it was towards the beginning when it's like, you think, okay, is the doll going to move? Or it just seemed like that classic moment where it's going to be like, okay, is the doll going to move or probably not kind of thing. Tim was screaming like, move, or where you see, look at her.
I go, turn your head.
Yeah,
turn your head.
Turn your head.
And then it does.
And then Dolly does.
In the most perfect slow head turn.
Yeah, with the eyes kind of finishing the look.
Oh, and then there was my second favorite moment, which is Denise Crosby, who we love, going into I think it's the kitchen, and Dolly is on the chair.
Yeah. And
they pan, as Denise walks through sort of across the room, they pan with Denise, and then she walks back, and they pan back, and Dolly's gone. And I was like, classic fucking doll horror movie moment. It's always this thing of like, see it someplace, move the camera, come back, and it's gone.
That's what,
I love that shit. It's so dumb.
I think that's what got me thinking when you kept saying, I love it. It's so dumb. Exactly. But when you said classic, that's what I was trying to think. I'm like, but what made this classic? Like, I can't think of what those films are.
I don't know. It's this.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like Child's Play and this. Like, really? Like, why do we feel like we've seen this 100 times before when I can't even think of one film aside from this that is actually doing it?
That's an interesting point. I mean, I think there are sort of versions of these tropes without it necessarily being a doll.
Yeah.
I mean, because it happens in Paranormal Activity 3, remember? Like, they specifically use the panning back and forth.
The clown and Poltergeist being gone on the chair.
Yeah, that's right. So, it's out there.
But yeah, you know what I mean.
I do.
So we finished getting through the deaths. Then the last one, right, is the
Night Watchman.
The Night Watchman.
Luis.
Who that's
the hand. The hand. That's a good gag, but it's
yeah.
it's a little. It's a little not like how it would go.
I mean, really? Did that take you out of the film, Tim?
Yeah, it kind of did. I was like, I've seen a sewing machine.
Surprise!
I'm pretty sure you could move your hand.
That was this death.
Surprise!
I love though that like they really followed through on the gag.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like his hands getting caught in there and like the sewing machine's like chopping it up, and then he finally pulls it out and his hand has been sewn.
Oh yeah.
Like that's awesome.
So at this point, are there multiple dollies attacking him? Or
Yeah, I think there are 3.
Okay.
At that point.
This was a creepy looking dolly, Tim.
I love that they're all like, it's the most beautiful doll. It's
right,
gonna be the
he was
greatest
flirting
fucking doll.
with it.
Oh my god, yes, Louise. Fuck. Yeah, that whole moment was very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Very uncomfortable. It's actually, that moment is in my things that didn't work. Not the moment, but sort of a broader idea around that. But yeah, he like, I mean, in my memory, which has now been skewed of it, like I picture him being like rubbing his nipples at it. You know what I mean? Like it has that feel. He didn't actually do that, but that's the feel where he's like, hey,
He's like,
baby,
oh man,
yeah,
I'm getting lonely. Hey, what did he say?
I don't remember.
And then how did his death moment play out?
Oh shit. He has a heart attack, but it is very strange because they like did some sort of prosthetic thing in his chest. Like his shirt falls open and his chest physically starts to like bulge.
Oh, right.
And I was like, wait a minute, did fucking Dolly like
get inside
in him and is going to burst out? Because let me tell you what, Ryan.
That was so weird.
If that had happened,
yeah,
this would be a double buy.
If Dolly had burst out of him.
If Dolly had made her way into his butthole and burst out of him, this would be on my shelf next to Possession.
So close, people.
So close.
So close. No, because really, that was so odd. What was that bulging?
I don't fucking know, man. It was super weird.
It looked like the chest burster was coming out from under there. It made no sense.
And then later, like, they're like, oh yeah, you had a heart attack. I'm pretty sure.
I mean,
correct me. I've never had a heart attack, so I don't actually know. But I don't think that your chest bulges when you have a heart attack.
No. But you know what? I still got to say, this is what worked. That all worked. Just it
did work.
It adds to the experience of what this film is. This sort of like, what? Like,
yeah, it was so fucking weird.
That not being able to quite predict what's going to happen next is why I love these films, is seeing what they're coming up with. Including, I loved the ending. Once we finally get the mom, Denise Crosby, on board to the situation. So this is actually where I liked her.
Oh, you mean that part of the ending?
Yeah, the way ending. Yeah.
Me too.
So this is where, a character, her character in this case, actually took on a character.
Right.
For the first time in the movie, which was when she kicked into like go mode. Like, I'm going to go save my daughter mode.
Yeah.
But I got to say, in the same like way where it was so funny, like how her solution to saving her daughter, who now the doll has told her basically like,
she's in here with me or with us,
or whatever that was. So we think, oh, is it going to be like in Poltergeist? You know, they have to get an expert and do this whole thing of like going through dimensions and grabbing her and putting a rope through there. But Denise Crosby's solution, she didn't give any of that thought. She didn't think. She didn't stop to think of maybe she was going to be harming her daughter somehow. In her solution, her solution is to get the shotgun from the wall and shoot it.
Yeah,
that's how she's going to save her daughter. And Tim,
brute force.
It worked. Brute force. She solves her problem with brute force. She says, I'm going to go get my daughter back. She shoots the dolly, saves the day. Somehow. But the brute force, you think that I was cracking up at that enough, Tim? Then they all go get dynamite to blow up the house and the factory.
If the movie could go off the rails, like if it wasn't already off the rails, the dynamiting the fucking factory scene I was like, even...
What are you doing?
What's your plan?
Blow it all.
Fuck,
They're
is
just
the
like
plan.
Denise
Stuff
Crosby.
a bunch of fucking dynamite in your shirt.
Right.
And run in there and just throw it around, hoping that A, you happen to get some of the dolls, and B, you don't get blown up yourself. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Oh, there's one. Throw it.
Yeah.
Like, what are you? Yeah, exactly.
And then Dolly goes around. I mean, I love this. I love their stupidity of throwing the fucking dynamite
Me too.
around. And then Dolly, like the multiple Dollies, just go around and pick it up and like extinguish the fucking dynamite.
Right?
Like 3 or 4 of them. And then one of them doesn't do it fast enough and blows up. But it's just like...
It's just, I love how they're like all just going off of Denise Crosby and they're just, oh yeah, great idea. You know, just use brute force, save the day.
Oh my
but then
God.
the fact it's like jokes on us because it works.
I guess. I mean, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Oh my
Did
God.
it? I bet you they left a lot of room for a sequel.
I don't know. It just ends with the factory just burning up. There's no little tease.
Is
Like,
there
they're
a
still
little laugh,
alive.
a Dolly laugh at the end? I
Yeah,
can't
no,
remember.
there's a scream like they're being killed.
Oh, okay.
But I don't think there's any like,
Oh man. Well, let me see. I think
standalone universe.
I
This
think
film.
that's pretty much it for me.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah.
Me
blah,
too.
Blah, thank you, The only other thing I have is it's just they made good use, or as much as I guess they could have, but they could have done this more. But doll parts are implicitly weird and creepy. And they probably could have done more with it.
Little
But they-
creepy hands.
Little hands, little arms, little feet, little fucking doll heads. And there are some scenes like when Sammy Bottoms, the dad, goes down into the basement and finds Camilla. He runs into some shelves and like a bunch of small doll heads, not dolly-sized heads, but smaller ones fall, and they're all like kind of old and dusty and whatever.
Yeah.
And those are just creepy, especially if they don't have eyes in them. And there is the scene of the eyeball rolling across the floor. I think it's at Camilla. I can't remember now. That shit's great. More of that. Like more doll parts.
Yep.
They're fucking weird and creepy.
So what are you saying worked for you?
That they were there.
Yeah.
I wish they had more of it, but it was good. I was glad that it existed.
Got it.
Because when he first walked into the factory and there was barely anything there, I was like, oh, well, that sucks because that shit's creepy as fuck.
Yeah.
But then, it's sort of there.
Right.
Is there anything else I have? Nope.
All right.
Okay.
What did not work?
It's not ready yet.
Seems to work okay.
No, something important's missing.
What did not work?
I gotta do this, Tim. But
Movie?
what also didn't work for me? No, solving it with brute force.
100%. Like that to me is the bit. Like what the fuck?
It's like there's such buildup to this is finally where it's sort of all gonna come to a head.
It's not a solution either.
Yeah.
Right? Like you are dealing with Satan spawn, the spirit of Satan spawn, and your solution is dynamite? Like you're not even dynamiting the tomb.
And just to
dynamite the tomb. Like
just-
get the thing back in there and then dynamite it. That's a solution.
Just to reiterate, what we said still holds true. All this also worked for me. This is something.
Yeah.
This is something I do in the show. Is I end the what worked section and then start the what did not work with the exact same thing. I'm doing that intentionally.
It's your thing.
Yeah. So just to clarify with
I'm
anyone.
with you. It's weird that
it's like that's all they had to do to get her out. You're right. Like it would have been a plan to be like, oh, we have to blow up the cave because that's where the evil is.
Lure it in, like just baseline it. Treat the bad thing like a fucking animal, right? You lure it in to a place that it can get trapped, and you have a plan. Like that's an actual plan. I mean, that's a standard third act.
There's literally
get it into a thing.
It was just fight it.
Yeah. And I mean, it was just the cheapest fucking nothing solution.
It's like, what?
It pisses me off.
So, and then I also mentioned, kind of do the same. She was great but that seems true to a character I'll give it that. Denise Crosby's character, like just going straight for the gun. Like, okay, this is who this is the brute first person. I wish her character had been more like the person in Dead and Buried, who I compared to the cop from Stranger Things. I think Denise Crosby sort of is that type and plays that type of just the sort of just keeps swimming forward, kind of hard-headed, moves forward, figures it out as they go along by the seat of their pants. But what I was going to say didn't work is that they were all boring. There was nothing. None of them actually really had character throughout.
But they're also, here's this such an inherent problem and sort of a sign of the times. You have a actor in Denise Crosby whose type is exactly what you're saying. Like, that's what she's really fucking good at.
It's how Tasha Yar went out. She was too aggressive.
Right. So you've completely undercut it by having they continuously take the fucking like thunder out of her hands. Like, they literally take the shotgun out of her hands and have the fucking shittiest son on the planet blow the doll away and say, play with this bitch.
Yep.
Like, calls the doll a bitch. So it sort of like leads me to just step back for a second and think about the men in the movie. They're fucking worthless. They're all pieces of shit. They suck. The dad is just a dipshit.
Yep.
He sight unseen buying a factory in Mexico is maybe one of the most idiotic business fucking moves you could make, right?
So idiosyncratic too. Like, what?
Right. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And then he kind of is just weirdly dismissive of, like, even like his daughter is flipping the fuck out and he's just kind of like, oh, it's okay, honey. Mm-hmm. And then Denise Crosby is like, no, she's flipping the fuck out. And he's like, calm down.
Mm-hmm.
He sucks. The son sucks. I don't need to reiterate. Rip Torn is like a nothing burger of a character. And also, the fucking accent. First of all, don't cast a white dude as a fucking Mexican dude. It's 91 and you're still like, I'm sure there's even more examples of that post 91, but holy fuck.
Absolutely not defending it, but it's totally par for the course when, again, what also didn't work, your only characters who died were Mexican characters.
Exactly. His accent is, he's been around for a fucking long time.
Mm-hmm.
And he is not even trying.
You were like, is it Scottish?
It goes into fucking like 10 different things like per sentence. Sometimes he just drops it all together.
Right.
I mean, it's just a fucking joke, dude. It's like,
Rip Torn.
What are you doing? Who? I mean, I guess you get Rip Torn because of some sort of name recognition and it helps your movie. So maybe then you feel like as a director, you can't be like, hey, you're not doing this well.
Mm-hmm.
Try harder. But obviously nobody told him that because I couldn't even begin to imitate it. So I'm going to find a fucking clip of it and I'm going to have Ryan slip it in right now. And just remember, he's supposed to be from Mexico.
Son, the sign up there says no passe. It means this entire area is off limits, so please take a hike. I appreciate your fondness for exploration, but we'll both just have to wait to see what's inside the crypt. These creatures are beautiful, very haunting. If his theory is correct, this excavation will answer many questions about a bizarre tribe of people called the Sanzia.
I rest my case. It's a joke. It's unacceptable.
I know.
You're getting paid I mean, maybe you didn't get paid a lot, but you're getting paid.
It's incredible, though, that it exists in this, like, in any movie.
It's so fucking offensive.
Yeah.
It's so offensive. So all of the men, and then back to what I was going to say about Luis and Luis's death, that whole thing of him flirting with the doll, it's like, who thought that was a fucking good decision?
Right.
Like, it sucks. Ironically, maybe it's just coincidental, This was written and directed by a woman.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I don't even know what to take away from that. Part of me feels like the nature of the movie.
She was probably just trying to make a movie just based on all the movies around her.
And also, I would venture to guess that the powers that be, the producers and whoever was funding or whatever, had a lot more fucking say. Because I think if you take this movie and you let a creator just do their thing with it, it's not this movie.
It just didn't have any kind of unique stamp on it. This was a very sort of safe execution.
Paint by numbers on a lot of...
Paint by 1991 numbers.
Yeah, like paint Rip Torn's face browner.
Yep.
So
I was like, did they give him
up.
eyeliner or shadow or whatever? Like,
yeah.
What?
Dude. So yeah, that, to say the least, did not work for me. And I mean, to be honest, that's kind of it, because everything else is kind of fun and goofy and whatever.
Yeah.
Like, those bigger, broader things are just, for me, I was just like, fuck you guys.
Right. Ditto.
Bummer.
Okay. Things of note?
Sure.
Things of note!
This should be interesting.
Okay. Well, I mean, I thought it was interesting. It was originally, I mean, totally makes sense. This was originally just supposed to be a direct-to-video film.
Shocking.
Surprise. But what I thought was interesting, and this was just sort of put in that vague Wikipedia way, as it does sometimes, but it did get a limited theatrical release in the Midwestern United States.
You mean where people are cool with brown face?
Yeah, I guess so.
Fuck. I mean, in 1991 they were.
And then the only other thing I wanted to mention was this kind of what we already did, where I was reading a review of it where it said, aside from a handful of fun moments, there's nothing much here to separate it from the lineup of Child's Play clones it dwells upon. And I'm like, what? What are those? Like, we tried to name some. I looked at Killer Doll list. None of them are actually sort of that kind of doll. You know,
right.
There's toys and stuff, but...
Yeah.
I don't know, just thought that was interesting.
I think Child's Play just was so impactful in that. I mean, people were... We should probably do some sort of Child's Play thing. I don't know if it means watch the original or watch one of the sequels.
I mean, I'd love to watch the newest one, Cult of Chucky, I think it was. The one where the original director comes back.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that. So, I don't know, but I think that it had a fucking big impact.
But it's just one of those effects, like I brought up earlier, it's just so interesting to me, yet there aren't, like this person believes, tons of Child's Play clones out there, you know, at least to our working knowledge, or even with a little sort of searching on Google. Just how it is one of those things, like you say, like, oh, classic, you know, it's sort of all exist in our mind's eye more. Maybe
this is like a Mandela effect thing, where we all think that we're living in a new fucking timeline, and like post Kazam and Shazam, or whenever the fucking timeline split, there were a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Or wait, we're remembering the time that there weren't, but the other timeline there. No, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Fuck, I don't know.
Anyway,
it's the Mandela effect. That's what I've decided.
There's
one thing here in the Wikipedia, the last thing it says, I just glanced at it and I saw the words Dolly Dearest 2 and I got very excited.
Oh my God.
But I misread it. It just says somebody gave Dolly Dearest 2.5 out of 5 stars. And I was like, fuck, come on.
Well, maybe we can revive it.
Unlikely.
Oh yeah, I can't get those rights to reboot Dolly Dearest. Can't believe it, they rebooted the classic Dolly Dearest.
You know, we never really talk about this because, I don't know, like maybe take it for what it's worth. But it got an audience score of 34% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay.
I don't know what that really means.
No.
Well, great. That was great. That was fun.
Yeah.
Fucking Dolly Dearest. That movie sucks.
I loved it.
I know. I'm fine with that.
Anything else for things of note?
Unrelated to Dolly Dearest, but when I was listening back to Possession and talking about how I would put it on my shelf, and then I was watching Poltergeist the other day, and I had this, I guess it's a realization, but it dawned on me that there's a very specific era of horror films that all have my favorite horror films.
There's a specific... Oh, okay, I understand what you mean.
In other words, all of the what I consider to be the best horror films fall between 1973 and 1982.
Oh, yeah? So that would end with Poltergeist is 82, right?
Yeah.
And starting with The Exorcist is 73, right?
Yeah. So there is a caveat to this because Evil Dead 1 is 81, and it's not my favorite. I prefer Evil Dead 2. But you don't get Evil Dead 2 without Evil Dead 1. It's essentially a remake in a way.
I love Evil Dead 1.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
No, that's what I'm saying.
But if I had to choose between the two, so that's sort of my like asterisks to that. But ironically, Evil Dead 2 came out the same year of one of my new favorites that we watched, which is Opera.
Oh, yeah.
So there's this. So 87 is sort of maybe my tangent year.
Oh, yeah. Some good stuff.
But so those movies are Exorcist in order, chronological order. Exorcist, Jaws, Alien, Shining, Possession, and Poltergeist.
The Golden Age.
Fucking A, man. Let's do those. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about was, how did this even come up? We were sitting there, and did you say you made a doll movie? How did it start?
Right.
Or did I just ask you
It was
about
a double
other...
screening that night, right?
I asked you about other movies you
No,
had
we
seen?
were talking about we're going to have an upcoming guest on our show, and we had just watched this doll movie. So those two things combined.
Right,
we're talking about Peter, and I said, oh, actually, speaking of, we just watched a killer doll movie, and Peter starred in a killer doll movie I made in college.
And I was like, oh my God, please, can we watch that right now? Like, it doesn't exist. And it does.
I'm like, it's terrible, but okay.
Fuck, listen. I hope you made it this far into this episode because this is important. The movie is called Drew Todd. It's spelled DROO, separate word, TAWD.
Yeah.
It's on YouTube. It is 1,000,000 times better than Dolly Dearest.
At only the 7.5 minutes.
And yeah, it's exactly. It's so fucking good. It's so good. To me, honestly, it's doing all the things that Dolly Dearest like kind of tries or wants to do, but actually has a fucking arc and like a fucking ending.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's hilariously good.
Awesome.
You have to watch it.
Well, you could see what I meant when I was saying like how there's no like ultimate kill, like what I would see as being an ideal killer doll movie out there. So when we had this assignment in college, it was the narrative project for this one class. It was like, well, I don't know what to make, so I'll just make something that I'd have fun doing. I'll just make a killer doll movie. And I'm like, well, I feel like I haven't necessarily just, it seems so typical and done and familiar, but I can't really think of, I don't know. It was just my take on doing that.
It's so good. You should fucking put that into a film festivals or something like that. I mean, a horror film festival.
No, but it's so
cares?
amateur and bad.
No. You have to understand that all of that is working for it.
Okay.
Because of like where it sits, it makes it fucking better and creepier and weirder and like it's just better for it.
Okay.
Because if you did a glossy sort of like stylized version of that, actually, if you did a glossy stylized version of it, it would also be good. But like the like high rent version of that somebody else tries to do will not be as good as the version that you made that's on YouTube. So please go watch this.
Awesome.
It's so fucking good and funny and like just sits in that nice place of like, it's super amusing. It's got stupidity to it.
Yeah.
But like the kind of the best kind of stupidity. There's a singing scene. Oh, it's so good. It really fucking tickled me.
With the ice cubes is what I thought. I just was watching your reaction. Like, what is he making of all this?
So good. It's
Great.
like the perfect student film.
Great. People enjoyed it. It was funny. Like, yeah, it was fun showing it in front of college audiences.
It also fucking Black Mirrors. So like it's twisty.
Oh,
You know, like, so fucking, that's awesome.
awesome.
That's what I mean. Like, it has a fucking story.
Yeah. Great.
Like, it's not just, hey, you know what'd be cool is like Satan possessed some dolls. And then what's the third act? Dynamite. Great, I'm in. Here's $2 million. What?
Right.
Fuck you.
Great.
Cool, dude.
Great. Thanks, Tim.
You're welcome.
Okay. Well, we can wrap up our doll segment of the show and move on to RecommenDEADtions.
Oh, yeah. What was I going to recommend, Ed? Oh, yeah, I remember.
I can't answer
It's
that
called
for you.
Canal.
Canal.
It's just one of these movies that I was streaming at some point, and I like look at, what's new on streaming, and it looked good and interesting enough to start, and then it was fucking really good.
Cool.
It's
You do that, huh? You kind of will start watching something and decide.
I do that a lot.
I've started doing that more.
It's a murder mystery, so but it has got some really good, creepy environment stuff. Like, there's a physical canal that runs through town, and it sort of revolves around that. But
Wait, sorry. So horror movie?
It's a horror movie. Yeah.
Okay.
It's sort of murder suspense horror. But yeah, I really liked it.
I want to recommend.
Creepy as fuck.
I think this might be the first film I watched after all my Godzilla-ing. But it was one that I wanted to see from 2018, was getting some buzz. Korean movie called Burning. Have you heard of it?
I don't
It was
think
on
so.
a lot of top lists of the year and stuff.
This year?
18. You said like
18?
the list we were reading this year about,
cool.
year's best last year. I thought it was great. It was that exact kind of film that I'm a sucker for, where it presents characters in a realistic manner, like actually, I think, and lets you sort of soak in and observe the psychology of the sort of the character interaction in a way that feels like realistic and not pandering, and not sort of baseline how people are operating, but okay, this is actually how people are operating with each other. Just one of those like good
Grounded.
movies. Yeah, well done.
Cool.
Actually thoughtful and
You said it's Korean?
yeah, Korean.
Subtitled? Mm-hmm. Cool.
And I don't want to give away what happens or where it goes, but it was cool really getting caught up in this romance that was going on too. And I think, one of the better films from last year, Burning.
Sweet.
Watch it, Tim. I think you'll appreciate it.
Okay, I gotta remind myself to watch that.
Yeah, have a Korean string.
Yeah, I
Watch
should.
I Saw the Devil.
That's
Which,
right.
have you seen that yet, Tim?
No.
All right. That was the portion of the show where I see if Tim's watched I Saw the Devil yet. Watch that. Watch Burning. You'll like both.
I will. I promise I will at some point.
All right. Well, time to go for the hat for next episode.
Okay, I'm reaching for the hat. Oh, what? What's that noise?
It's our skull bell, Tim. Our skull bike bell.
What?
Do you know what that means? Do you remember from last time the skull bike bell rang, what that meant?
I'm having a vague memory.
Well, it meant, Tim, that we were going to the theaters to see a new film.
Ooh.
So that is going to be next week. So we're going to go to an
exciting.
advanced screening
Of what?
The Dead Don't Die.
I've heard of it. Mm-hmm. I've heard of the director.
Jim Jarmusch.
Jimmy Jim Jam.
Starring Bill
Jimmy
Murray,
Jim-
Tilda
Jim
Swinton,
Marsh.
face guy, Adam,
The what?
Adam Driver.
Oh, right. Yeah, that guy.
All sorts of folk. So,
Yeah, the if I remember right, the poster says something like the greatest
zombie cast.
Yeah, zombie cast. Okay.
We'll be the judge of that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And
Cast.
I think it should be out when this episode's released. So hopefully you've seen it and you can see what we thought of it.
That sounds fun.
Yes.
I hope it's the greatest time we ever have.
Me too. Almost as much fun as
What was the last
Us
one we
was
saw?
fine.
Us was the last
And then, I
theater
mean,
we saw?
the one that I just always think of is when we went and saw, Conjuring 8 or whatever.
Conjuring 8. It was fucking Insidious, the last key.
Right.
It's Insidious 4.
Insidious 4.
That was early.
Yeah, that was sort of
Holy
the beginning
shit.
of our run here.
Oh
yeah,
my God.
some good movies coming up. I mean, I'm excited to see. We're gonna definitely see and soak in. Mentioning Hereditary earlier, we'll see Ari Aster's new film.
Hell yeah! I just saw
Midsommar, and then Robert Eggers of The Witch, his new film, The Lighthouse. Those are the big ones I'm excited for.
Yes, definitely. I saw Jordan Peele tweeting about Midsommar,
Really?
saying that it's the greatest third act or something like
Hype!
that.
Hype!
Yeah. So that's cool.
Cool. Well, in the meantime, or in the next time, or in the past time, you can find us at dismemberinghorror.com.
That's right. You can find us on Instagram at dismemberinghorror and on Gmail at dismemberinghorror.com.
Let us know a film you want us to talk about.
Dismemberinghorror@gmail.com.
Yeah,
That's what I meant.
tell us a film you want to hear us dismember.
Please do.
Let us know via the email, via the Twitter we said, via the Instagram we said.
Yep. You can tweet at me. Nobody tweets at me. Tweet at me. I'm lonely.
His face did just express that.
Please.
So if you saw it, you would want to tweet at him.
I'm at Tim Aslin, yeah.
All right, I keep almost sneezing this episode. Our Instagram's fun, though. I custom pick stills from the films we watch.
Yeah.
Post them on our release day. You should check out the one that we did for one of our recent favorite movies, Possession. That had some good stills for it.
So good. And every once in a while, we'll slide something extra in there.
Yeah, exactly.
You never know.
But yeah, so
maybe we should. Did we take a picture of the bell? Did you put a bell picture on there?
No.
Let's do that.
Yeah, let's
do
it.
You have a point of reference of what the bell looks like. It's pretty cool.
Yep. Warning to other road users: skull bike bell. We need to mount that here somewhere.
Yeah,
fun.
You can do it right there.
Yeah,
cool.
Great. Well, in the meantime, thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening.
Yep. And we will see you next time.
Goodbye. Or
Goodbye.